Now you can do
Okay.
your thing. Hello. Hello. Here we are. Bonga Dada Bonga. After the completion of the first 20 weeks of Bonga Dada Bonga, this one being episode 21, the team deciding what we will do next. And there will be a next series. Tonight, we're choosing to go back and review what happened during some of those first 20 weeks. Why? Because we found that it's definitely worth repeating. Definitely worth repeating. And so tonight, what we want to do is to take time out and thank all of those women who decided to be a part of Bonga Dada Bonga, the 20 series. But before we go further, let's bring in our co host and also one of the originators of the Bonga Dada Bonga show. Nana, turn on your mic.
Got it. Welcome to another episode of BongaDadaBonga. So I am usually not on this show. I am the co-host of Queen Mother Speaks, and I primarily do the social media for BongaDadaBonga. But today we have a special episode just for you. Various women in leadership roles and influencers will moderate BDB as host for the upcoming sessions, interviewing candidates, speaking to the news events, and address the current state of affairs and trends. The co-hosts that we've had on BongaDadaBonga are from the colorful spectrum of journalists, campaign managers, activists, political analysts, women in organizations, political science, publicists, and educators who will deliver their opinions, commentaries, and analysis of the matters of the Kenyan 2022 political race. And I do want to add that this year is the first in 30 that they had a peaceful transition of power. There were glitches, but for the most part, it was peaceful. Women's participation in politics help advance gender equality and affects both the range of policy issues that get considered and the types of solutions that are proposed. Women are mothers, they're sisters, they're grandmothers, so they're concerned about everybody. Not that some men aren't, but most of the policies that have been in Kenya have been male dominated and male supremacy oriented, because they even had the 2/3 rule as a law, which has not been put in place. It's on the books, but it's not actually in practice. So the research indicates that whether a legislator is male or female has a distinct impact on their policy priorities. There is also strong evidence that as more women are elected to office, there's a corollary increase in policy making that emphasizes quality of life and reflects the priorities of family, women, and ethnic racial minorities.
New everybody on the horizon in the world of women's organizations is Bonga Dada Bonga.
Yes.
We join a horizon of many organizations that are there to support and to focus on female representation. All these groups focus on women in leadership, political participation. So Bonga Dada Bonga proudly and boldly proclaim its role in advancing women in politics. Women in politics, Bonga Dada Bonga, speak sister speak. Understand that Bonga Dada Bonga, the platform, is for women's voices. And our very first series focused on Kenyan women in politics. Boy, oh boy, what a series was that. I got an education and a half because normally when Kenya is having its elections, Queen Mother and other foreigners get hat. We don't stick around because in the past, you guys kind of do some funny stuff. So we don't stick around for that. All right. But as of now, we decided to stick around this year, and we did. And as a result of sticking around, we got to this platform that's called BongaDadaBonga.
Yes.
All right. And over the 20 weeks, we have featured candidates from all, not all, we've featured candidates from many of the 47 counties here in Kenya. And we featured women that were vying for various positions.
Mm-hmm.
So as the show went on, so we started out just hearing from the women in terms of who they are, what they want to say, okay, and gave them a platform because many of them, in many cases, wanted to have something to say, but they didn't have a platform to do it. So that is the role that BongaDadaBonga played, okay? We did our official launch on May 12th,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And we did the 20 weeks, which ended last week, which was the 21st of September.
Correct.
Right now, we want to take a moment to talk about, well, tell us something about women, Nana.
Well, women at their best, working to help other women at their best to be their best was
And
on
that's
things.
what it is. Yes,
Yes.
that's what it is. What can you tell us, Nana, about why is female representation important?
Well, after hearing the women that and co-hosts that we had on the show, like you said, we learned so much about Kenya. But to me, one of the most important and riveting things is that they didn't know that women around the world are concerned about them and will rise to support them, to listen to them, to understand what they're doing. And I think you heard me say this before, but if we don't help those women who are being oppressed and marginalized groups in Kenya and other places around the world, then when we need help, who's going to be there to come for us? Nobody. So it was when they said they were surprised that we would give them international access to social media at no cost and listen to what they said and try to affect change. In Kenya, for our viewers that may not know this, if you don't have money, your party doesn't particularly give you money, and you can't campaign effectively. So even if you put together a war chest the night of the Kenyan election, to my surprise, they could give you money to vote however for whatever candidate. So 3 or 4 candidates could have people or be there themselves outside a polling location and say, I'll give you $20, or they use Kenyan shillings to vote for me. Then the next one comes along and says, well, I'll give you 50, vote for me. And then another one will say, I'll give you 100. But they estimated how many millions of dollars was given away the night of the campaign. But even prior to that, unlike the United States, they had campaign material, the name of the party on donkeys. So you not only had to have the money to get your name in the race, just the entry level fees. Then you had to give aprons, T-shirts, hats, banners, printed material. And if you didn't have the money for that, your party didn't give it to you. Or they could or couldn't.
In some cases, let us say in some cases.
In some cases.
I do know of some cases where the party, in fact, did give something to the ladies.
Correct. And we had one of them on our show.
Well, we've had several of them on our show. Let's talk about why female representation overall is really important. Absolutely. Representation is the core basis of democracy, improved decision-making. Now, the UN Women, which is an organization that we all know of, have found that women's involvement impacts decision-making in a very positive way. With examples including like better healthcare, right? More drinking water. In India, they had projects in India that was linked to higher levels of female representation. Okay.
Right. So why is women participation important in Africa and wherever you are, not just Kenya, but women's participation, active participation, volunteering, organizing, educating the next generation on how to do this, and involving more of your neighborhood and people who are often forgotten, or left out, whose voices are not heard or represented in your election or in your elected officials. As the level of government closest to the citizens, local authorities can play a vital role in addressing gender inequality and in building the capacities of women by involving them in local decision making, planning,
That's
and the
what's important.
management. So we know, Queen Mother, that the importance of the role was recognized by the International Union of Local Authorities.
Okay, so once again, BongaDadaBonga is among a list of many growing service organizations, supporters of women causes in countries across North America, Latin America, the Pacific Rim, and of course, also in Africa. And we are very much happy to be a part of that movement in Africa in being a show that promotes women's voices. Okay.
Yeah.
Doing our very premiere launch of Kenyan Women in Politics series, you've heard phenomenal women here in this country, all right, who were very courageous, who were very powerful, and very inspiring. And even there were some young people that we got a chance to meet who was involving themselves in politics. Each and every one of them, in our opinion at BongaDadaBonga, each and every one of them is a superhero. A superhero, a superhero. That's right. And at BongaDadaBonga, we're honored and proud to share their stories with you. So one of the things we'd like to do today is to talk about the 4 bodacious, bold, and beautiful women in Kenya who became hosts to BongaDadaBonga. But before we go there, Nana?
BongaDadaBonga, or the translation into English, even though we do like the ring of BongaDadaBonga, is
BongaDadaBonga. BongaDadaBonga.
Speak. Speak, sister, speak. Because they said, oh, we were trying to find a name for the show, because we had a guest on named Aching, and she was telling us the challenges that the women in Kenya had faced and things going on with previous elections and what they were expecting for this election. She was telling us about women in rural areas not having access to internet, social media, because unlike where I live in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States, they have to buy credits for minutes to access the internet, either from their phones or computers, or they have to pay to go to an internet cafe. So BongaDadaBonga, we got together to brainstorm and then find co-hosts and then figure out who should be on the show. So we've had dynamic men too who are supporting gender equality around the world. And our show has strived to amplify the voices of women and the survivors who have been historically silenced, not just not heard, not just ignored, but silenced by having pressure on their family, by having their names slandered, and the opinions expressed on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channels, our social media and blog pages are not necessarily representative of BongaDadaBonga or our opinions, which is a virtual platform for women's voices. But we decided it was so important that their voices be heard, that regardless of their opinion, regardless of their social class, financial ability, party affiliation, we decided that it was important that they have access to an international market, international supporters, international assistance by letting their voices be heard on our BongaDadaBonga show.
And you know what? I like the ring of that BongaDadaBonga. I don't know why. I just like the ring of that BongaDadaBonga. And you probably hear me say it more times than I need to say it, but I like the ring of it.
Exactly.
And right now, we just want to take a moment, if you will, and give thanks to all of the women in Kenya who stepped forward to become hosts. How did that happen? Well, once again, once we received in our spirit a message that said, Queen Mother, you have a platform, use it. And that's what we started doing. Then we just started putting feelers out and asking people who would be willing to be on the show. And a lot of people who wanted to be on the show could not be on the show because they didn't have time.
Right.
Many of them are doing so many things. But for those who did step up to the plate, we just want to say thank you. I'd like to take a moment and introduce one of those women or tell you a little bit about one of them right now. Her name is Aching Akina.
Mm-hmm.
Aching Akina. Okay. She
Mover and
is very
shaker.
dynamic. She's vibrant. She's an innovative leader. She's a lawyer. Okay, from Kenya. She has over 21 years. Look how young she is. She has over 21 years of experience in the whole area and production of dealing with human rights and democratic governments across Africa. She's worked in human rights in post-conflict solution areas. She's worked on in both UN and AU peacekeeping missions. And Aching came to us through a very dear friend. Because when I went to that dear friend, I told her I wanted powerful women to be on the Queen Mother Speak show during Women's History Month. And that's when I got introduced to Aching at that time, and she did a great job on the show. And of course, the subject came up about women voting, and the Kenyan election came up at that time. And then there were other women on the Queen Mother Speak show who also came on, the women from Kenya, I should say, and again talked about the upcoming election. And so that got our minds to rolling and thinking. And as such, the results of that is the BongaDadaBonga show. And as Aching was on the Queen Mother Speak show, and one of the people who expressed very much her concerns for what was going to happen in Kenya, we did go back to her and ask if she would be willing to be a host on the on the BongaDadaBonga show. Now, the way we did it, so that we didn't take up too much of anybody's time, okay, is we asked each of the women to actually host 4 episodes. 4 women, 4 episodes. And then the last episodes, we were going to bring all of them together and let them talk about what had been happening over the 20 weeks. But in fact, it didn't quite go down like that. We wound up having, as we continued bringing women in on the show, we found that we needed to dedicate more time to women who one week weren't able to get in, but by the following week, they had agreed to be at an internet cafe so that they could tune in. So we actually wound up having the entire cast of hosts together for the last 2 series, okay, instead of the last 5. And that was very great. And I will say to you, that spirit of that Aching, I'll tell you, I met the woman online, but I feel like I know her. I feel like I know her. She has not only a sweet disposition, she also has a heart of love. This lady's plate is very full. She's traveling on a regular basis doing her work out in the field, but she took time to be a part of BongaDadaBonga. And for that, we want to say thank you to Miss Aching Akina. She started us out on the very first Queen Mother Speaks show. Okay, so that's one of the hosts, and she actually wound up hosting more than 4 times. But we loved her for that. We thank you for that, Aching. Wherever you may be right now in the world, we send you love. Let's throw her. Let's give her a hug, Nana. Let's give Aching a hug wherever you are in the world. We send a hug to you to let you know how much we care about you and how much we appreciate you. Let's hear about another one of the hosts. Sound, Mike.
Thank you. In between, I am typing and doing a bunch of other stuff and finding stuff to show to you. So I wanted to mute my mic so I didn't interrupt my co-host. But Aching has done an amazing job. She brought us riveting reports. She was always prepared, and her knowledge as an attorney living in multiple countries and traveling all the time, she carved out some time, as did friends and other associates of hers, to put together shows that educated the international community. And she came up with flyers. And of course, she had to learn some editing skills, as you did, Queen Mother, and social media. I'm telling you, it stretched all of us. It stretched all of us and made us grow, as new projects and activities do. but Aching is an amazing woman, attorney, community activist, and is extremely knowledgeable about marginalized groups. So we can't say enough to her and the group of women that she brought to the show and the subjects and helping us to understand. Because being in America, I had no clue about the Kenyan process, which I'm thinking there are going to be 4 or 5 candidates. And what was it? Over 5,000, Queen Mother? 43 counties that
Yeah.
each
From
had.
the beginning, there were 5,000 women who threw their hat into the race.
The
Once we completed
2022,
primaries, I think it
right.
was about 2,500 to 3,000 who
And
actually
we're
entered
talking about the
into
Kenyan
the race.
election 2022 for government officials, presidents, governors. They have women's representatives, but we're thinking that they've got budgets. But the women representative position didn't have any budgets. And this is one of the things she brought out. Can you imagine trying to run a political office and do things for your community with $0? $0.
Well,
$0. I did say $0. So for them to give women the position of being a woman's representative, which sounds really prestigious, that you're representing all the women in your area, sounds great until you find out you have zero budget. So you spend all this money for your campaign to get people to support you and vote for you. And then you're thinking when you become elected, then you're going to have a war chest or you're going to have support financially to you come up with an agenda. You come up with goals and tell people what you're going to do for the community. And then when you're elected, you now find out you got $0. So our job is not over to women and men internationally who care about politics, who care about African communities, to Kenyan Americans around the world or Kenyan anything else. You could be Kenyan Moroccan or Kenyan Ghanaian or wherever you are, South America. We want you to continue to support Kenya. And then if you're American in the United States, many of you have seen on our show the organization called Democrats Abroad. So Queen Mother is over in Kenya at the malls on the weekends with the core volunteers in the country of Kenya, which is on the continent of Africa, impacting the policies and politics of America. So we don't want you to think this is only for Kenya. We hope that you have been inspired by our show to then make a difference where you are, because this is when it's not an election for presidents, as you know, in America, Queen Mother, that many people don't participate. But this election, no matter where you are, is super important that you vote the ticket, whatever you believe in. So she's with Democrats Abroad, but they are nonpartisan in that they will assist Republicans or independents or anybody else to figure out how to get your ballots, how to mail them in, fill them out, and get them there on time where your voice is heard. Because here on BongaDadaBonga, the whole premise is that each of us, our voices are important. Our input is important. And quiet as it's kept, Queen Mother was really active in the civil rights movement in America, and her family was. This morning, Queen Mother, when Ursula and I were talking, we were chatting, having girlfriend conversation like we are here. She was telling me she's been to your home in Birmingham twice, and it was like a living civil rights museum. And that she should have taken pictures. You know, you don't want to go to somebody's house and just start taking pictures of everything they have, but that she should have taken pictures because it's important to document how it's done, and it's important for you to participate and then teach a younger generation. So Queen Mother brought in people with disabilities who are differently abled. She brought in young girls in her community to help. Who in Kenya, sometimes they live in the village and sometimes they come to the city. So there was a group of young people in her community that also helped provide research for us because we can't do it all. And then she also wanted to teach another generation the need to be involved in politics. And you have to research the candidates. You have to research the issues. You have to research how the politics and political systems run. So it's not just pop up one day and you know everything about the candidates, the issues. And then you have to see is what they're telling you that they're going to do, what they actually have had a history of doing. Anybody can say anything, right, to get elected, Queen Mother. but it's important for
Yes.
you to know how have they voted in the past? Why do they believe what they are saying? And should you believe what they're saying?
Mhm.
So, um, are you ready to tell us more and show us more about a Ching and her contribution?
No, given the time, we do want to
Okay.
finish up this show today before an hour is over. And as I'm looking at at my script, some of the information I put on the script for whatever reason is not there. So I'm just going to
Okay.
go from my heart and talk
Okay.
about some of the other women who served as hosts on Queen Mother Speaks.
Okay. And
Okay.
whenever you're ready, I'll make sure
Hmm.
that I'm ready to talk about
Which
Susan.
rose are you? Which are you going to talk about? One of the roses?
Of course, I would like to. Um,
Which one will you speak about?
well, I haven't found the information for her, but I do have Susan. So we'll have to just tell them what we know
What we know
about
about them.
Rose,
That works.
exactly
That
what
works.
impact they have and their contributions from years of service
Hmm.
in Kenya and being with organizations running their own businesses and corporations. These women made time, and every one of the people that Queen Mother and a Ching or that came on the show and helped us host, and we had men, so we don't want you to think we're discriminating against gender, but primarily in Kenya the women's voices are marginalized, and you can imagine this group of women that help us do and pull off Bunga Dada Bunga. We each had different opinions and feelings about everything because everybody doesn't just come together and gel. We don't want to give you that impression that it's easy, it doesn't take thought, it doesn't take sacrifice. But one thing I can say about the two of us, we will do what it takes. And I had the more radical views of how to stop the violence, which was comical to the women there because in Kenya, in the past elections, which are every 5 years, for 30 years, people have been cut, beat, raped, slashings. That means taking a machete and cutting you up, and then raped and killed. Even the UN poll workers had that experience, went to hospitals, went to morgues, talked with people, and could not find one woman or one person who was willing to publicly accuse their attacker, even though they knew them. Nobody whose husband, brother, uncle, or son came home bloodied was willing to testify against them so that they could be brought to justice. So I didn't say 30 days. I said no one for 30 years has ever been brought to justice for murders, slashing, robbing, and rapings in the country of Kenya. So I was really surprised at that. And after hearing that, I knew that we had to help the women become bold, to have courage, to know they're not alone. And
Yes.
the two of us are cut out for the job. And you have to keep in mind that she's in the country as a guest lecturer, teacher, activist, but she's limited in what she can say and do when you go visit another country on another
Right.
continent. They're holding you hostage by your income. She could be kicked out the country for saying things. And their rule.
No, well, let me make a correction there.
Go ahead.
Um, I wouldn't say that they're holding me hostage. You know, even
Okay.
America have rules and laws that we don't necessarily agree with.
Mm-hmm.
So either you start a platform to
Yes.
either be for or against whatever that may be, but there are some things that, for whatever reason, it may take time to change. So as
Right.
I am a guest of this country, I choose
Mm-hmm.
to honor their rules, their
Yeah.
laws, and their policies. All
Right.
right. And if you are a guest in the country, they don't expect you to come in there and start talking politics.
Right.
And so that's why we decided that we would not be the face of Bonga Dada Bonga in terms of talking about politics, but rather we'd let the women here
Yes.
who can represent the face of the country come forward, and that they did. I'd like to tell you about another woman who came on the Bonga Bonga show as host. Her
Okay.
name is Rose Mwara.
Yes.
Rose Amwara. Rose Amwara. Oh boy, I met Rose years ago in business here in
Mm-hmm.
Kenya when I was at the university, United States International University, and Rose was working with the Federation of Federation of Kenya Employers. I think that's the right name of the organization. Let's see, it was, yeah, she was working there. And she and I worked on many, many, many projects together while I was at the university and she was in corporate business. And from there, we formed a friendship. And over the years, we've just kept in touch with each other and supported each other in various community events. So when I came to her and started talking about the Bonga Dada Bonga show, again, a woman with a very, very, very full plate, she said, yes, we will step up to the plate and we will do it. And this is the thing that we call putting skin in the game. And Rose put skin in the game. She currently serves as the CEO of the Kenya Surveyors company here in Kenya. And she stepped into a role that has normally been filled by men. Oh, the sister's plate is very full. The sister's plate is very hot, but she's managing it. And she's teaching other young women here in Kenya how you can step out and be and do other things. So, Rose, thank you so much for the guest you brought on the show and for serving as either a host or a co host. And sometimes we had a guest or we had a co host and they may have dropped out. And I had to call my core team to step in. Girlfriend did step in. Oh, but there's another rose. We had two sweet roses inside of Bonga Dada Bonga. The second rose is called Rose Lucala. Rose Lucala. This woman, I kind of like to call her like a quiet fire. If I had to describe her mannerisms, for me, it was like a quiet fire. But she so much has her finger on the pulse of what's happening in this country. Why? Because she's a woman who's in the media. She's been in the media for over 20 some years. She's worked in various organizations. She's also served as a consultant to private corporations. She's worked in and out of the country, and she is currently involved with the Kenyan Media Women Association, and they're doing great things. They did a lot of great work during the actual election itself. So to Rose Lucala, I want to take a moment and say I thank you. I appreciate you, Rose. When I couldn't figure something out, I called you. And in her quiet, fire way, she would say A, B, C, or D. She always had answers. And she always, I would say, she's responsible for helping to anchor me while we were doing this show because there was so much to do and so much to say. And at the same time, not saying things we shouldn't say or saying things that get anyone in trouble. Oh, but that sister Rose, our second Rose, Rose Lucala, stepped up on the plate and did a fabulous job as a host. I want you to be on the lookout because there are some more things that she is planning to do in the future. And Bonga Dada Bonga is here to host her in any way that we can, but she's got some ideas for us. So I won't spill any more beans on that, but just know that she's going to be coming back to us in another way. So now we've talked to you about the bold, fearless Aching, the bold, fearless Rose Mwara, and the bold, fearless Rose Lucala. There is one more young lady who we brought to the team. Again, we were looking for women from different spectrums. And the next young lady that Teresa's going to introduce to you was the fourth woman who came on board as a host for Bonga Dada Bonga. Nana?
Yeah. So Susan Corrego is currently undertaking a PhD in political studies. She has other degrees in economics and international relations, conflict and development. She is a Chevening Scholar and a Fellow of the African Leadership Center. She has vast knowledge and experience in governance, democracy, peace and security, youth, gender, and human rights, among other subjects, which made her a perfect host for Bunga Dada Bunga. She's passionate about social justice issues and has worked in programs, research, policy influencing capacities. And she's currently the Africa Regional Director at Protection International, PI, working with human rights defenders. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do quickly was to go back to Rose Muwara, because what was important, she's the CEO and Council Secretary, Institution of Surveyors of Kenya, or it's also called ISK, and she's the chairperson of the Daystar University Alumni Association.
Yes.
And when I would do their social media, I'm telling you, Queen Mother, I was amazed because this Daystar University promotes the activities of people in their alumni association to tell you what they're doing to impact the world on an international stage. But she had a wealth of business management, as a professional business management professional, and a wealth of experience and a proven track record in a male-dominant land and property industry. She emerged as an inspirational leader by becoming the first female CEO. So we were selected to be co-host on BongaDadaBonga. These women, she served as an anchor and a host and brought us a delivery of hosting to another level. She's passionate about bringing meaningful change to the continent and the world. Some people only have a vision or think about their family. We call it us four and no more. But we welcomed her dynamic personality. She's calm, she's pragmatic professionalism with a passion for efficiency and quality of delivery as a host and co-host to the table and the platform for women's voices we call BongaDadaBonga. So, it was important to add people from different industries. And they brought something different and unique to the table each and every show, from, as they say, from the utmost to the guttermost. We don't care we don't care how much money you have. We want to hear what's going on in your life. And to that effect, we brought, now on BongaDadaBonga, or on Queen Mother Speaks, which is our flagship program, we have women who are in the National Association of Police Wives. The police everywhere.
Hold up. Please don't go there yet. Don't tell them the surprise is coming.
Okay. But what I want to say is we want to hear from women and voices that we never hear about or think about. And there's so many different groups of women. And for the viewers around the world and here in America, some of the challenges in Iraq, a woman was arrested because her head wrap was too loose, and she ended up dead after being in police custody. They have video of her being beaten. In Kenya, one of the things they had told me, I forget what they called it, Queen Mom, but it was about the length of your skirt. If you go in town and it wasn't long enough, the women were stopped, beaten, arrested. And some of the things they've made progress with in this country, but they were saying that the women could not go for medical treatment without a husband or a male consent father. They can't take your child out of the country or get a passport for your child to leave with you without the father's signature. So if you've had a baby and are not married, then you can imagine you're not going to get the permission and you can't leave. And then while we were thinking about it, I thought about a very good friend of mine. While I had cancer, she had adopted a child from Kenya. And when she tried to get, paid all the expense for the visa, Queen Mom, and she got the passport, an American passport, the father stepped forward and refused to let the child leave the country, though she had adopted her, which meant she had to then pay school fees and everything else for this child in the country of Kenya. She put her in the best schools and was not able to bring her child home. And as a mother, a first-time mother in her 40s, who had gotten emotionally attached to this young lady or this child, I want you to think about how that would feel to finally go through this 2 or 3 year long adoption process, and then suddenly you're told this child can't leave the country. Your child can't leave the country, and you're going to live a separate life all your life until she's over 18. And it's probably more like 21, because women can't just leave the country when they want to. So we learned a lot. And
yes, we did.
The part that surprised me was that you run through the primary in a political party. And then when you're successful, then someone allocates you. This word allocation was a mystery to me, but allocates you to another party that you may not agree with, you may not know anything about, that may have just been created the night before, which has no track record. They don't compare what you believe to what they believe, or what you're trying to accomplish to what they're trying to accomplish. You're just allocated. So, Queen Mom, back to you to talk about some of our other hosts, and I'm going to go get the information so I can tell you about another one in a minute.
Okay, well, I want to take this moment on BongaDadaBonga and say to you that we have been so overwhelmed with the amount of information that we were finding about the various women who were running for office in this country. Many of them who made their debut this 2022 election year, in some cases, may not even had a full clue on what it is they were going to do, but they had the guts to step up to the plate and make a difference in the way that they actually could. You see, it takes something to decide to step into a public role. It takes something when you know you don't have everything that you have to make it happen. So many of them went on what we call raw faith. Raw faith. And what is faith? Oh, you all know the answer. You all know the answer to what is faith. Faith is something that you believe in. It's nothing that you can see, but it's where you put a belief into. So many of the women believed, and I was very happy to learn that with most of the women, their families was there to support them in terms of their children and their husbands, their sisters, their brothers, and even their communities. So many of them came together and created their platforms and began to step out there because they believed and they had faith. So as we've now completed with the Kenya 2022 election, we have a lot of women out there who gained some experience this time around. The next time there is an election in Kenya will be the year 2027, 5 years from now. So the way I see it from where I'm sitting, we have 5 years to work on getting those women ready for the very next time. How do we get them ready? We get them ready to various types of training. We get them ready through various types of health and ways of well-being. We get them ready and making sure that they can have work and be able to create income for themselves as well as their families. Oh, there were some courageous women. And there were some women who on the show who talked about the fact that they, in fact, had been attacked. And when they would go to find help or go to report, they didn't often get favorable responses from the police stations. So we've been talking to some of them after the fact, and some of them are choosing to go back in at another season, at another time. So we'll be looking around for programs of empowerment for our Kenyan women in politics. So if you are a part of an organization, profit, nonprofit, corporate, no matter where you're located in the world, if you have programs of training for women in politics, we'd like to talk to you. And we'd like to talk about how we can create a class or many classes. There's so much that can be done. So if you have something to offer, we're going to ask you to let us know about it. You can put the information in the chat box. Once again, let me just take a moment and pause. And thank you for tuning in to BongaDadaBonga for its episode 2021. As we move forward with the show, we will be bringing in other series. I'm not going to give it away right now. We'll probably tell you next week, but we'll be bringing in other series on the show. And in between, we're also going to be playing some of those tapes from the 20-week historic series of Kenyan women in politics. Even as we entered into the election season itself, some of the women who appeared on the show, in fact, were winners in their areas. But I want to tell you something you may not know if you were not keeping up with it. And that is, in Kenya, there is a county where every seat was won by a woman. Every seat. Kisumu is the place. The county is called Kisumu. I've been there before, but I can't wait to get up there again and throw my arms around those women and thank them for the work that they've done. And we do know that the bigger work lies ahead. What was the determining factor that made that one county have all women winners? What was the determining factor? We do intend to interview the women of Kisumu County and find out what the winning factor was for all of them to win their seat. Also, I want to say that for the first time in history, Kenya had 7 women elected as governors. What happiness! What happiness! And we look forward to bringing some of them on the show as well to talk to us about their mandate in their specific counties as they're working towards making Kenya a place where women can be involved more and more and more. We're also going to come back again and talk more about that 2/3 gender rule. But we're going to move away from politics. Oh, we'll be talking about women in sports. We'll be talking about women who are people disabled differently. We'll be talking about women disabled differently in politics. We will be talking about the Ukraine women who are going through a lot right now. We want to talk about women in theater. We want to talk about women race car drivers. Yeah, we want to go after those women who are in, I shall say, in some cases, unfamiliar territory. But we're going to bring you women from various women who are involved in sports in various areas of sports, whether the sport is playing soccer or boxing. Did you know that there are professional women boxers? Yes, there are. And we'll be talking about some of them at some time. Let me give a shout out to Christine Jumu, who is tuning in to BongaDadaBonga at this time. Thank you, Christina. Thank you. We find that Christina follows us wherever we go. And one day I have a dream. And one of my dreams is to have a cruise and invite women from around the globe to come on the cruise. And we'll structure it in such a way that given the different countries that the women are from, that the food that we're eating can be representative of their countries,
We love
that
the
the
food.
dresses, the shows, the entertainment. Yeah, we want to do some fun stuff. But
That
also,
sounds
we can invite you to come to Kenya. We can actually go up to the Masai Mara and find a nice, quiet place where we can be out on the plains, smelling the fresh air, okay, and just enjoying being there. But there's other areas too. Did you know that Kenya also, Nana, has a
Yes.
place here where you can go and be in the healing waters?
Yes.
Yes. It's called Navarsha. I look forward to your visit to Kenya so you and I can visit there together. But there's
I
a
will be
lot
there.
to do in this country, and there's a lot also for the women to do.
Yeah.
And we're just going to continue to bring you information that will reflect women's voices from around the globe. On the Bonga Show, for the most part, the first series was about Kenyan women in politics, but we will be covering women in politics in other countries as
Right.
well as women in other areas all together, all around. I think, Nana, we can end the show tonight in about a couple of minutes, only
Okay.
because there's something I must do
Okay.
before 8 o'clock.
So I wanted to also tell the viewers, as crazy as it sounds, my friends say they don't even know what I do, but I'm pursuing another world championship in two different sports at the time. I'm a
Ah.
five-time world champion in martial arts. My style is Shanru
Mhm.
Karate. And that was more than 35 years ago. And so in 2019, they had told me I only had, well, 2018, I had 3 weeks to live in December. I go to Atlanta, Georgia, find out that they gave me 6 weeks to live because of my heart issue. I go back to my coach of 45 years after an absence of 30 years and find out that as I worked out, my body healed, my heart valve that was inflamed came together. As I taught and I was around such a loving environment, I healed.
Mhm.
I started competing by March, and my coach has over 500 male black belts who are strong and young and great. And here, this chunky great grandmother, right? I said blind, fat, crippling, crazy. By the end of the year, when we were at the awards banquet, they called 5, 4, 3, 2, and they called all these other black belts. But when they got to number one, it was me. They were shocked. So I then turned professional in 2020 and won the first international professional NASCA karate tournament of the year in a place called Joplin, Missouri, small town. And from that, it shut down for COVID, as we know. Well, I got a call last year that asked me to go to the Olympics at 64 years old. I'll tell my age. I am not ashamed. So this year I came back. I'm sitting here in Columbus, Ohio, because I came to train under my coach, retool, and get ready to travel internationally. So I'll be checking Kenya, Africa for
Very good.
karate tournaments. And hopefully, if not, if they don't have them there, we'll be doing exhibitions, especially in the country of Kenya, so women learn to defend themselves. I did a Zoom video for Trinidad Tobago because during COVID, many of the women kept their jobs, but the men didn't have jobs, and they were robbing and beating and raping and killing the women for their money or for food or for their goods. And this isn't an isolated incident in Trinidad Tobago. But what happened is the president then recognized all of us world champions that came together to do this. So women and men are doing things around the world to increase the safety and the ability for women to participate. So we need to teach a whole new generation, as she was saying. She didn't mention that she was one of the first boxing promoters in America. So each of
Correction.
Go ahead.
Not a boxing promoter,
Okay.
but a manager
Yes. Thank
of
you.
boxers. And I had in my stable both male and female
boxers. Exactly.
boxers.
So we don't look like that. We tough, but we are some tough ladies. My other sport, Queen Mother, is pool, or what's known as billiards. I love to shoot pool. I used to be great. I mean, absolutely great when I was young. So now that I'm not, I won't say retired, but now that I'm less active, then, and I'm not less active, I'm more active, but I carved out some time to do things I love. And you have to go back and do that during a pandemic, during stressful times. You have to figure out, what was my dream? What haven't I done? What footprint am I going to leave, and legacy am I going to leave? Because I'm sitting next to a living legend. And then somebody told me I'm a living legend. And we were laughing.
Right.
We were laughing because that is true. But I watched this documentary on Quincy Jones, and he's in his 80s, and the man is not through. He has such a busy schedule. It's unbelievable. And the stuff he's done, numbers in the thousands and 10,000s of movies he's composed scores for, #1 selling album Thriller, #1 selling song We Are the World. The man is traveling and coordinating things all behind the scenes. And so we still have a lot to do. And so I would like to mention Blissipin and our second anniversary project to you all, which is our Ahadi Pad program. Let me finish my thought. So Queen Mother, when I checked, there have been no African American women or Black women to ever win a world championship in pool or billiards. Never. And
so
what
looks
it
like
is,
we'll have one soon.
We sure are, because when I leave here, I'm heading to Jacksonville, Florida, where before the pandemic, I qualified for 4 world championships. The ESPN's training center is there, and I'm flying to Jacksonville, and I'm sitting here waiting because today the airport closed. I was supposed to fly out today, and pray for the people who are facing.
Please explain why the airport closed.
Hurricane Ivan. It's over 500 miles wide, which basically covered the entire state of Florida in America. And then it curved and went around as natural disasters do. It doesn't follow the path you think. And so I couldn't fly from Columbus, Ohio to Charlotte and then to Jacksonville, Florida because of the hurricane. It decided to go up through the middle of Florida into Georgia and South Carolina. But what they didn't know yesterday even is that it's going to go on up the coast to Virginia. This was supposed to curve through Florida and back out into the Atlantic and dissipate. But it has a mind of its own. So it's changed my plans, which is okay. But we have to continue to strive to be great no matter what age you are. You can make a difference. And that's what we want to know. We want to know what's going on in your community, where you are. And BongaDadaBonga and Queen Mother Speaks are not just a day show. You're supposed to be telling us, who do you want to see on our program? What issues are going on with you? We want you to organize watch parties for next week, because one thing we are going to do is we're going to bring you an amazing show. And we still have a lot of co-hosts and hosts to tell you about, and some of our prestigious guests, because their issues and causes are blood donation for Kenya and around the world. Every place needs blood. The Ukraine, South America, Asia, the United States needs blood donations. And our second year anniversary project is the Ahadi Pad project, because many women around the world are marginalized. Yes, she's showing you. So we are trying to affect 5 different villages and give them these pads, because the women and girls cannot go to school, cannot go to work, because they don't have the proper sanitation items. Protection, so that they can continue their lives and go out during a time of menstruation, which is natural and normal. So these are the pads that she's showing you. They're washable, they're reusable. So they'll receive 2 pairs of underwear and 4 washable pads, which will last them at least a year. And they won't have to miss.
And how much does it cost?
Only $10 US. And how much in Kenya shillings?
1,000 Kenya shillings.
Okay. So
1,000 Kenya shillings.
Yes.
Okay. So this nice little package that we want all of the girls and some of the women to receive. Okay. You can donate $10 US or 1,000 Kenya shilling for the Ahadi pads. Why do you think we took this project on? Because we learned that as women, we all have cycles every month.
Right.
And many of the girls, when their cycles come, because they don't have something to use, they cannot go to school. And if you miss too many days in school, guess what? You have to drop out, or you flunk out.
Or repeat.
Or you have to repeat. So we didn't want that for our girls. We want them to be able to step into and live into their dream. We want them to be able to do that. And by your donation of a mere 1,000 Kenya shillings, okay, please put in their PayPal. You must say PayPal.
Right. I've got PayPal up. PayPal dashaking@gmail.com.
PayPal isn't showing on the screen. It's just showing my email.
That's the email. But on the crawl at the bottom, it gives you the M-Pesa pay bill number. M-Pesa is similar to our Western Union in Africa. And then it says PayPal _King. So if you're in a country that doesn't have M-Pesa, then you can send your donation through PayPal, which is international, to the email dashaking@gmail.com. That's why I have the crawl going at the bottom of the screen, and I have a dedicated email, because it's important that women in these countries are not seen as a weaker, ineffective species. It's not an illness. It's not a disease. And women are ruling and reigning all over the world only because we are blessed to live in a country that has waste management, and we live in a country where sanitary items are normal.
Readily available.
Exactly. When you become a
Readily
senior,
available.
people in America have disabilities or incontinence and lots of different things. But we have different things that we can do. Diapers, pads. We have compression socks. We have implants for shoes. We have adaptive things with glasses. And I found that they didn't have these things. And Queen Mother and I have done medical missions where we provide glasses to marginalized countries and people with, it's not really a disability. We don't even consider you disabled if you need just reading glasses. But we can get reading glasses here in America at Family Dollar for $1. They don't have them in their country at all. So there's still a lot to do. And we
There's
have
still
the
a lot to do.
youth in Africa who are doing innovative projects. We have people who are creating devices and items like these Ahadi pads that are providing solutions. And we want to encourage you to figure out, what can you create? What can you
That's
invent?
right. That's
What
right.
can you
As
do?
we're nearing the end of the show for today,
Mm-hmm.
Nana, again, let's just take a moment and thank our host for BongaDadaBonga, who
Absolutely.
would be, and their names are Aching Akina,
Yes.
and who else?
Carolyn. We had Rose and
Well,
Rose.
okay, Aching Akina,
Yes.
Rose Mwara,
Yes. The other Rose.
Carol Lutoko. I'm sorry, not
Yes.
Carol, Rose. Rose.
Yes.
We had two roses on BongaDadaBonga. And of
Yes.
course, the third one, and the third person being the one and only Susan Corrigo.
Yes.
This is BongaDadaBonga. Tune in every Thursday live at 12 noon New York time and 7 p.m. Kenya time. Click
Yes.
on facebook.com/BongaDadaBonga. We've got a nice show lined up for you next week, and pretty soon we'll be bringing you another new series on
Bunga.
BongaDadaBonga.
Yeah, bunga.
BongaDadaBonga. T?
Yes. Yes. Bunga dada bunga.
BongaDadaBonga.
So we're going to end
BongaDadaBonga.
with our traditional kiss because
No, we won't. We don't do that one on this one.
we want to send lots of
Yeah,
love. We want to
yeah,
wish everybody a happy birthday. Graduation
yes,
season is upon us. We're praying
yes.
for you no matter where you are, no matter what has happened. And we just want to thank you for tuning in. And please tune in to Queen Mother Speaks next Wednesday, live at 5 EAT, which is East Africa time in Kenya, 10 o'clock New York time or Eastern Standard Time. So we want you to find
Very
it. We
well.
want you to arrange a watch party. We want you to go out to our social media. Hers is Queen Mother Speaks, facebook.com, Queen Mother Speaks. Mine is facebook.com/Teresa, author Teresa R. Kemp. We want you to go out and like, subscribe, and follow our Facebook pages. And we want you to be engaged wherever you are. Be bold, be courageous, have faith, and reach out to like-minded, strong women around the world. Thank you for tuning
Yes.
in today.
Thank you for tuning in. Did we get a photo?
No, but I can get them from the video.
Okay, very well. Peace and blessings. BongaDadaBonga. I think I want to write a song about BongaDadaBonga. What do you
Well,
think?
you know, some of our viewers may just be inspired to write us
To do that?
a
We do
song.
want a song. Bonga. It's got such a ring to it.
It does.
BongaDadaBonga. 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 BongaDadaBonga.
Absolutely.